Hi guys, Rochelle here from my vintage farm. Welcome back. It has been 1 year since I left YouTube and we're back. So I'm sure if you have followed us on social media, you have seen that we have added to our family and I had a baby, a beautiful baby girl. But there's a lot that's happened this past year and this video should explain some of why we were away for 1 year, and I hope that you guys will enjoy rebuilding our farm with us as we enter into the 2022 season with our hands and our hearts completely full. So I will see you guys in future videos, but here's a video that I recorded a little over a month ago as I was gearing up to come back. I've actually recorded probably like 5 or 6 of these videos about coming back, and it just wasn't the right time. And so since this video I have been recording, so I have some videos to share with you guys. Just really excited to take you guys along the journey of rebuilding our life. It is a wonderful, blessed life. So here you guys go. Here's all, maybe not all, but here's the scoop on where we've been, and follow along for what's to come. Good morning, good morning. Rochelle from my vintage farm. Trying to get that glare out of my glasses for you. So we have just woken up this morning. I'm having my coffee and we are going to catch up on all that has happened in this past year since I left YouTube. I did not leave YouTube intentionally, and you will hear about all of it as we unfold these past 12 months and welcome us back to opening up our home and farm and sharing our journey in life with you guys as we once again rebuild this farm. And we have grown our family. So this is our sweet new addition right here, and we're just so excited to open this new chapter and live in our glass house, so to say, and just bring you along everything from farming with disabilities to being a new mother 19 years later after my first child. And it's pretty beautiful. So we will take a view back over the past 12 months. I was doing treatment for my 3rd round of stem cell transplant, and I was going through a depression, and that was the first reason why I had stepped aside, was because I was not in a happy or positive frame of mind. I was having a very hard time, and shortly after going through that and my treatments and realizing that the treatments were not working and I was getting sick, but this time I was getting sick differently. Sorry, I don't have my tripod. I thought I would just wing it while we're here because I never seem to have a moment without my little baby here. So I found out I was pregnant, and it was crazy, guys, because not only had the stem cells like healed my nervous system and other areas of my body like my mast cells, but it had actually healed my reproductive system and allowed me to get pregnant when they said that that would not happen. I was told that I needed to do limited activity for the first trimester. So we went through the depression, and then we went through finding out that, you know, going through treatment, finding out it wasn't working, finding out I was pregnant, and now being put on low activity. So I really couldn't do anything besides sit on the couch or lay in bed, besides, like, you know, make basic meals and go to the restroom, hygiene type. So for 19 weeks, I did not do anything because I knew that this was such a blessing from God and I needed to just relax, just not do nothing. And so although it was hard, we had to get help to take over the farm responsibilities, and everything. And then at 19 weeks, I got COVID. And boy, oh boy, like when I got COVID, I'm just gonna take my glasses off. I got COVID really bad. So I had a fever for 21 days. My left lung partially collapsed. So the lower third of the lower third of my lung collapsed. I had my liver function was plummeting. COVID, the virus, was attacking my liver. It attacked my nervous system. I ended up getting sepsis. I had the beginning of pneumonia, and they believe that's where the sepsis started. And so I had sepsis, and the fever was like so terrible. I hallucinated for like 5 days. I was in and out of the hospital. I had to have a ton of x-rays and CT scans, and it was just awful. And so after a month of battling COVID, I finally was able to come out of my room, because this entire time I did not have any human contact with anybody in my family. My daughter Alyssa got COVID at the same time, but she got it very lightly, and my husband did not catch it. And so we, the doctors were constantly telling me, we have a plan in case we need to deliver the baby. And my only thought was that if I deliver this baby and I have COVID this bad, he has to be healthy. So we completely social distance, set a table up outside the room, and that's where we would use as a transfer station. He would set my medicines, foods, beverages, those type of things on the table, and I would grab them from him. And the only time I would leave the room was to go to the emergency room, or to go back to the hospital, to the emergency room. So finally, that battle of the severe parts of it were over, but I still had long-term COVID effects. And so it took me a while to gain my strength back, because I was bedridden for a month while pregnant, and I was still like force eating and everything to make sure I was getting my nutrients. I was still taking my immune factors to keep my immune system up and battling. They had no idea like why I was so sick, but yet my body was still fighting so much. When you're pregnant, you have a weakened immune system just from being pregnant. So I do credit that to my immune factor. I was just like literally taking high amounts of those through my battle, and praise God, like I made it through. The baby made it through. We were safe and healthy now. So that took us into the third trimester. So finally, about like a week before the third trimester, I finally started to have some strength and really feeling better. And I was so behind, if you guys could imagine. Okay, so going through the depression, going through treatment, and then finding out you're pregnant, having to do limited to no activity, and then getting severe COVID like that. And like every time I was one number away from being hospitalized, and I did not want them to keep me at the hospital. I kept pleading with the doctors to please just allow me to go home and that I would return. And I did. I kept going back to the hospital every time I needed to. I had so many ultrasounds done, but the baby did so good through it all. And so thank God I didn't have to be admitted during that time, because I just knew I needed to be at home to fight it. So third trimester came around, guys, and I felt amazing. I felt so good. And now that I was in the third trimester, I was going to weekly doctor's visits. So they started out like bi-weekly, and they were doing ultrasounds and non-stress tests, I think that's what they call them. And pretty much it's just like where they monitor the baby's movements and heart rates and contractions. And once I was in like 7 months-ish, 7.5 months, I started having contractions. And so 8 months hit and I was having pretty bad joint pain. But mind you, during this third trimester, I took over the chores. I started farming again and I felt so good about it. I was taking over the house, like literally got everything revamped and done in the way that I had wanted it to be done. So it was absolutely amazing that this was all coming together. Although I still didn't have it in me to revamp my YouTube channel. And the reason why was because we had so many ups and downs and so much going on. And this entire time, being pregnant could have turned into something that was tragic. And I just wasn't prepared to share that with the world. And once we went through everything with COVID and, this being my 7th pregnancy and my 2nd live birth, it's really hard. And so I just wanted to keep it with my family and not have to worry about any thoughts or opinions. And I don't think that anybody would be negative whatsoever, but it was just a very fragile time for me. And I wasn't quite ready to just share about everything, because every time I thought I was, man, my world got shook. So even though everything was, ups and downs, like my faith was still strong. And so then, you guys, I was like telling my doctors, I'm having a lot of pain in my hips and pelvis, and I have a connective tissue disease. And so I had started dislocating pretty much at 2 months of pregnancy, like my dislocation. So when I had stem cell injections done in my joints, almost 3 years ago now, like 2.5 years ago, they really did like keep me from dislocating. So I was having an amazing time with my mobility, and I wasn't dislocating as much. And so once the relaxin hormone started to increase in my body, I started dislocating my ribs, my sternum, my arms, like my shoulders, everything at nighttime. Especially when I would try to lay down, I would just start dislocating. So and then, having that first trimester where I couldn't do things, that really did take away from my muscle structure, which when you have a condition like mine, we have worked my body to where my muscles and the strength that I have that surrounds those joints is really what keeps them stable. So, we go in for delivery, guys, and I am feeling so good. We have videos, and I think maybe we'll just put this video out because it's already kind of long. And then my next video that I do will be the one where I clip everything together and kind of do some introductions of just like the different areas of what I'm telling you guys about now. And so, so we went in. I was like really excited. I was even like walking into my appointments, you guys. Like a lot of you know, I use a wheelchair. So I use a wheelchair for long distances, or if I have to stand in line, because those are pretty much the things that I can't do easily. The last month of my pregnancy, my husband went to all my appointments with me and pushed me in a wheelchair. But besides that, like those 2 months of the first part of my 3rd trimester, I was able to walk in. So we go to my scheduled C-section, and I'm walking around the hospital. We're preparing, and they switched my surgeon. So the doctor that was supposed to handle my case, we had a new surgeon come in and a whole new team that was going to be working it. So they had a few anesthesiologists that were there special to work with me because of my severe allergies that I have. So they ordered up a cocktail that they had worked with the medications that I am not allergic to, because I have severe allergic reactions to a lot of like sedatives and pain medicines and things of that sort. So they had to make up something that they hadn't used before. And it worked. It took them, for my spinal block, 17 pokes before I was numb. When they did the C-section, there was some issues with, I don't know, I wish I would have written everything down. So they have to like situate everything in order to be able to get to the baby, to take the baby out, and they were having issues with that. And so finally, after a good amount of time, I was probably in there and open for about 30 minutes before they allowed Josh to come in. Now, mind you, I had a C-section with my first daughter, and everything was like so smooth and fast. Like the whole thing took like under 15 minutes from the time I went in to the time the baby was out, and they were closing me up and sending me down to recovery. So, they had a really hard time getting the baby out. There was a lot of trauma that was done during the delivery, and at that time I didn't know anything was wrong because I was, still medicated. And so they got me closed up and everything. The baby was born. My husband was able to get the placenta, and we were able to keep the placenta. And that was a really big deal to me because after knowing about stem cells and the fact that I took placental and cord blood cells, and that's like literally what has saved my life, I wanted every bit of that for my recovery. I get to recovery and I'm in there with my sweet baby, and the doctors and everything finally like get to send me to the mother and baby unit. And so we go there, and the entire time I'm having pain, but I really can't feel anything. And they kept like trying to get me to move my feet, and I couldn't move my feet. And they kept trying to get me to like do different things, and I couldn't. So midnight came around. She was born. It's a girl. So the baby was born at 11:22 a.m. So midnight came around, and they said, well, if you can't walk tonight, we'll try in the morning. Like that'll be fine. And I said, no, if it's gonna help with my recovery and getting me home, like let's just go ahead and try. And so I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't bring my legs up. I had no control over moving my legs. My brain was telling my legs to move. I was trying to move my legs, and I couldn't move my legs. And so, we're thinking the medication from the spinal block is just still really strong. And then I finally was just like lifted my legs to the, like with my arms, lifted my legs to the edge of the bed to get me sideways. And then I just kind of like slumped them over the edge to try to stand up. And I was in so much pain. I was bawling, crying like I've never cried before. The amount of pain that I was in was excruciating. So they kept telling me, it's just from your C-section. That's why you're having so much pain. And so, I'm feeling like a freaking wimp because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I never experienced any of this with my first daughter. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're 38 years old and blah, blah, blah. This is why this is happening. And they're telling me, moms, have to walk so far, blah, blah, blah. And, it's just your C-section pain to try to push through it. And so at this time, like I am bawling, and the nurse is like, we don't have to do this if we can wait till morning. And I said, well, no, if we have to, like I need to try to at least take a few steps, because what if the morning is worse? Like this is probably because the spinal tap is wearing off and they hadn't started to give me pain medicine yet. And so that was probably like the first error, was like, having that spinal wear off without having any pain meds on board. And so I couldn't lift my feet and I couldn't move my feet. And so at this time, I'm just doing this and just like shuffling them. And I just couldn't do it. So the two nurses got me back into bed and I was bawling in pain. So at this point, we knew like I couldn't get up. We did not know that anything was wrong still. I just knew that it wasn't my C-section, because my C-section, like I can feel where they cut me open, but that was nothing. I tried to explain to them like my pain was in my pelvis and in my hips, and the C-section was like nothing compared to the pain that I was feeling. And I tried to explain to them that it felt like it was like in every joint of my pelvis, and my pelvic bone on the right side felt like it had dropped, like it was lower than the left side. Well, guys, this video is already so long, but I'm going to share with you more about this. But that was 8 weeks ago, and I had a severe trauma to my pelvis. I have a retroversion of my hip joints, and I just learned how to rewalk. So I've spent the past 6.5 weeks learning how to rewalk. At week 7, I would say that I was finally successful at actually like taking steps, because until then I couldn't lift my feet up off the ground. I was still dragging my feet. So there's a whole story in between that and here, and recovery and physical therapy and occupational therapy and just everything that needed to be done. My mom came and pretty much moved in with us for almost 3 months to help during that time, because she came 2 weeks before our baby was born and stayed until 6 weeks. And at 6 weeks, we had my family come in, my sister from out of state, and she needed to go be able to visit with her and my nephew and everyone. So it has been quite the journey, but I have now been on this journey of learning to rewalk, and we're rebuilding our life and our farm and everything. And I don't know how it's going to look. I have no idea. But I know that I'm not going to give up on this dream, because God put it in my heart. He hasn't taken it away. He hasn't changed the vision in any shape or form. My mom got me a scooter like that people use at like grocery stores and elderly people at their retirement centers. And so I have been able to get around the farm on that. I have been driving for a week now. So a week ago, I finally was able to start driving, about a week and a half ago. And that has been amazing. And now, on top of just being able to drive, I'm actually able to get in and out of the truck. So that is a whole new level of healing and ability. And at like just over 6 weeks, I was able to stand up and hold my baby for the first time. And about 6.5 weeks, I was able to walk her around for the first time. And so it's been really amazing. Until then, I was just mothering her in this position, just like this. And this is probably why she loves to sleep with me and be on me, is because this is how we spent the first 6.5 weeks of her life, was just like this. I couldn't use a changing table. Although I did use my wheelchair to get around, I still couldn't do anything. So it's been really awesome to be able to do dishes and cook a meal and clean up my house in little bits and care for my family and my grandfather and all these little things that you never think of that could really be so small. And they were not small anymore. They were just huge, really huge. And I'm just so grateful. So I still have a long way to go. I have a ton of pain in my pelvis and in my hips. And with my last appointment, my doctor said pretty much that even with surgery, he couldn't guarantee that I wouldn't be in a worse off situation if the surgery would work, and more so like if the pain would go away. It's not just like I have the conditions that I have because of the delivery, but you add in a connective tissue disease, and the healing is not guaranteed. So I don't know what the plan is for the future. I don't know what level of healing I will receive, or if my pain will get better over time, because right now I seem to be going backwards on the pain scale since I have been walking. I'm definitely in a lot more pain, but pain is something I can deal with, and I just want to be able to live my life to the best of my abilities and to find ways to do that and manage and cope with whatever symptoms and abilities that I have. So my next video will take you through the parts of maybe just like little sections, I don't know, but I feel like I want to share some vlogs with you about my daily life and rebuilding this farm and working with the abilities that I have. Yes, I know I'm disabled, but I would rather focus on my abilities than my disabilities. So we're gonna learn how to farm differently again, and just enjoy this wonderful life that we've been gifted, and this beautiful baby and our adult daughter. And life is good. There's so much to be grateful for. So journey along with us, guys. It has been a long year, and I have no clue where it's going. I can't make any promises, but I do know that I want to share this with you guys, and I hope that this story brings hope to other people who might be battling their own health crisis. And, you know, we've seen miracle after miracle, from dealing with my conditions 3 years ago to having, you know, my life completely changed, our life completely changed, and now dealing with a different set of abilities and figuring out how to work through those and what treatments will we do now, because I can tell you there is more stem cell transplants and injections in the future for sure, because before I let any surgeon cut into me, I want to try regenerative medicine #1. So I have so much more to share with you guys, but this has been such a long video. I hope that you guys will tune in and join me. And if there's anything that you guys need prayer for, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to pray for you. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I would love to answer your questions in a future video. And I'm excited to share the video clips that we've taken along the way and a lot of the photos, and just kind of catch you guys up and take you guys along with us. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm Rochelle from My Vintage Farm and Rare Rochelle. I will see you in the next video. God bless.